But we begin with big ballot problems in Macomb County, creating new concern about the November election. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Dave Llewellyn.
And I'm Carolyn Clifford. The question, did Postal Service delays cause hundreds of people their votes? The Macomb County Clerk says more than 400 absentee ballots showed up in the mail days after the primary election. Those votes will not count.
Those revelations amid numerous reports of delays in mail delivery all across Metro Detroit. This as the Michigan Secretary of State today is announcing plans to send millions of postcards urging people to vote absentee, and new trouble for the post office. President Trump today saying he opposes more funding that would make mail-in voting easier.
We have Team 7 coverage for you tonight. 7 investigator Heather Catallo uncovering what postal workers now say is playing a role in mail delays in our area.
But we begin with 7 Action News reporter Jim Kurtzner in Sterling Heights, one of those cities receiving those late ballots. Jim?
Imagine you voted in the primary, you mailed in your ballot, and then you find out it hasn't been counted. That happened 165 times here in Sterling Heights, 84 times in Warren, and there's a warning for the state of Michigan from the Postal Service. More on that in a second.
We learned a lot of lessons on August 4th that we're going to carry forward to November and make sure that we are as prepared as possible for what is going to be a very, very high turnout election.
The Secretary of State says last week's primary set a record with absentee voting, and she wants to expand it, make it easier for the bigger surge expected in November. She will be sending out postcards to millions explaining how they can get an absentee ballot by mail or in person at their local clerk's office. Most cities and townships set up drop boxes for the return of absentee ballots to avoid any delays in the mail.
As a result, we saw 20,000 absentee ballots either delivered by mail or by hand, most of them by hand at the drop box on Election Day.
We also talked with voters who have their own concerns about delays with mail-in ballots. By law, they cannot be counted after Election Day. The Secretary of State wants that changed before November.
The mail is having a little bit of a problem with absentee ballots. I don't know if it's on purpose or not.
And what did you do this year? We dropped them in the drop box at the fire station.
Absentee's okay, all right, because you have to go do the paperwork to get that, okay? But the mail-in type, like they're trying to do in Nevada and other states, it's no good.
They sent me a ballot, but I decided that I would do it in person.
Now, the Secretary of State was sent a warning from the Postal Service today to be careful about a surge in voting in November, that the delivery standards of the Postal Service might not live up to the expectations if the ballots are received and then turned back in through the mail too close to the November 3rd election. Secretary of State also saying today she's going to spend $5.5 million of her money to make improvements, more drop boxes in cities and townships, to pay for return postage, and to redesign envelopes so that they are more conducive with Postal Service standards. In Sterling Heights, Jim Kurtzner, 7 Action News.
Jim, thank you.